bells toll for a moment, a countdown the world has been waiting for. A race against time, one that began 5 years ago in flames. But from the ashes, a resurrection, not only of a church, but a country.
When we saw it burning, we knew we had to do something.
Hundreds picking up hammers, paintbrushes, and chisels and getting to work, rebuilding the Cathedral of Notre Dame.
They rally around, some because it's a cultural artifact, some on their knees praying, some standing and singing.
Tonight on Currents News, the return of glory, the return of Notre Dame. The doors to Notre Dame open once again, a celebration 5 years in the making. Hi, I'm Christine Persichette, and welcome to this special edition of Currents News, where we usher in the return of the iconic Notre Dame Cathedral. Since the fire 5 years ago, thousands of workers have been tirelessly restoring the Paris landmark. And on Saturday, their efforts were revealed to the world. Currents News' Jessica Easthope reports.
Archbishop Laurent Ulrich of Paris knocks on the doors of Notre Dame 3 times. He is ushering in a moment the world has been waiting for. The reopening of Notre Dame. An extravagant occasion Pope Francis marked in a message to the French people.
Nos cœurs s'étaient serrés devant le risque de voir disparaître un chef-d'œuvre de foi et d'architecture chrétienne, un témoin séculaire de votre histoire nationale. Aujourd'hui, la tristesse et le deuil font place à la joie, à la fête et à la louange.
Inside were leaders from all over the world, gathered to see the cathedral for the first time in 5 years, since that devastating 2019 fire, including President-elect Donald Trump and New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan.
To be here, I bring all of you with me. We love you. The French people love the United States. They're very grateful to the generosity of many Americans for the rebuilding of Notre Dame.
But among the 1,500 also in the pews, representatives from Parish's 113 parishes. The disadvantaged, people specifically invited through the charitable organization of the Archdiocese of Paris, and hundreds of workers and restorationists. President Emmanuel Macron reminding those present and the millions watching at home that it was through their efforts the cathedral stands again.
Nous avons choisi le sursaut, la volonté, le cap de l'espérance. Nous avons décidé de rebâtir Notre-Dame de Paris plus belle encore en 5 années.
For now, Notre Dame plans to celebrate Mass 3 times a day, every day, for the next 6 months, hoping to fulfill the needs of its faithful, now that Notre Dame has been restored. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
During the reopening ceremony, the people in the pews gave a big thank you to the workers who made it all happen. Firefighters, craftsmen, and representatives from 250 companies and sponsors received a round of applause at the cathedral's nave, while outside on the facade, "Thank you" was illuminated in several languages. President Macron said in his speech it was because of the more than 2,000 workers that Notre Dame is able to stand tall. So how did they do it? Let's take a look back at Notre Dame's complete restoration from the very beginning. April 2019, flames engulfed the Cathedral of Notre Dame, one of the most iconic and ancient churches in the world.
To see it go up like that, it's pretty devastating.
An inferno so intense, many believed it would take decades to rebuild. Work began soon after, and now, just 5 years later, the Paris landmark is rising from the ashes.
The president says we will rebuild this cathedral in 5 years. It's the words of the head of state of France. And the reputation of France is at stake.
But in March of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic causes work to stop at the 850-year-old church. It resumes in June with a focus on removing the burned scaffolding that had surrounded the spire, which was undergoing restoration when the flames broke out. Spring 2021. 1,000 oak trees are harvested and transformed into timbers, which will become the cathedral's new spire and roof. Fall 2021, all of the burned scaffolding is now removed and work begins on the interior of the cathedral. The organ is dismantled and removed to be repaired and cleaned. The paintings are restored and the church is cleaned. Lead dust is removed from the walls, ceiling, floors, and stained glass windows, none of which were damaged by the fire.
We had a lot of luck because all big artistic works here were not damaged.
2022, the cleaning and repairs continue as the cathedral vaults are restored and work begins on rebuilding the spire. Despite some doubts, workers are on track to finish in 2024.
This is a place where the spire collapsed. You know, this is the center of the drama.
2023, significant progress is made. Almost 1,000 workers are involved in the reconstruction every day, either on site or in workshops across France. In December, a golden rooster is returned to the top of the cathedral spire, symbolizing Notre Dame's rebirth.
To rebuild the spire, we had to build this scaffold, which goes through the vault.
February 2024, scaffolding is removed to unveil the cathedral's new spire. A photographer who documented the reconstruction says he believes the newly restored Notre Dame will be even better than what was there before.
I think it will look immaculate, beautiful, in a way we've never seen it before.
The newly revitalized cathedral can expect more than 15 million visitors in the coming year. A priest from France who's preaching in the Diocese of Immigrants believes the fire and the cathedral's reopening is sparking a resurgence in faith.
What I think happened at that time, it was very beautiful, the reactions in France, you know, the people praying in the streets. It's as if we realized when that happened how much it means to us.
And according to a recent poll, faith in France is blossoming like never before. About 12,000 adults and teenagers were baptized at this year's Easter Vigil. That's a record number for the country. The report by French bishops says there was a 31% increase in baptized adults from 2023 and a 50% increase in baptized teens. It seems those numbers will only grow as church officials say more and more people are looking to be baptized. They've even formed new teams of catechists to help prepare people to enter into the church. But even before this recent boom, France was seeing a resurgence of faith that started right after the fire. Current News' Michelle Powers was there during that time and filed this report.
The Diocese of Nanterre is less than 10 miles from Notre Dame. So close, the land used to be part of the Archdiocese of Paris.
Notre Dame is the beginning of all the measures of distance in France. And that's a very impressive symbol. It means Notre Dame is really the center of our country.
Bishop Matthew Roge says the cathedral is mile zero. It's how the French measure distances all over the country. But it's more than just that. It's their history. And through the grace of flames and the way of the cross, some are rediscovering it this Good Friday.
I'm very prudish about what I feel in all aspects, but I think there is a different sense today.
I have seen a lot of people praying at this time, not only for Notre Dame, I think, but for the church in general.
Once among the most Catholic countries in the world, sometimes called the eldest daughter of the church, in recent years, France has seen a serious decline in church-going numbers.
In France, you live in France, you are in some way related to Catholic Church, but many ignore it.
Bishop Roche speculates that the Notre Dame fire just may ignite a spiritual reawakening of sorts.
This type of event, a reawakening, a spiritual reawakening, is a long adventure.
One that might already be underway across secular France. Among the modern cityscapes, today there are thousands following Jesus to his death. Sociologists in the country call the phenomena the rise of zombie Catholics, people who do not attend church, but voters who turn out in droves to support leaders backing Catholic social teachings. The sociologists who coined the term say it's Catholicism having attained a life after death in France, and no one is quite sure just where it will go.
I think that this could help to make them come out easier about their feelings.
As the Way of the Cross made its way around the Diocese of Nanterre, more people joined in, the crowd growing in size at every station. Possible so-called zombies finding their way back spiritually.
All the people who have been moved by Notre Dame and want to meet other believers or be with other people to share some sort of event.
A resurrection just in time for Easter.
That was Michelle Powers reporting. According to a 2022 report, some 48% of the French people identify as Catholic. There's a lot more news headed your way. Americans showing solidarity with Notre Dame as church bells ring across the country. Don't want to travel to France to see the cathedral? Well, a new exhibit is bringing Notre Dame to you. And we look back at the voices that sang out on Easter Sunday right after the 2019 fire. While Notre Dame was reopening in Paris, churches thousands of miles away here in the United States were showing solidarity with the eldest daughter of the church, ringing their bells around the same time the iconic cathedral doors opened. Among those that took part, the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph in Brooklyn and the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in D.C. If you couldn't make it to Paris to see Notre Dame's reopening, the cathedral has now come to you. An interactive exhibit is allowing people in the Big Apple to travel all the way to the City of Lights to see a new view of Notre Dame. And the best part is, you don't have to hop on a flight to get there. Currents News' Katie Vasquez explains from Morningside Heights, Manhattan.
The world-famous Notre Dame Cathedral reopened to massive crowds. But if you couldn't make it to France to see it in person, this exhibition in Manhattan brings a sacred space to you through these tablets called histopads. You simply scan at the designated spots, and you are transported from the Cathedral of St. John the Divine to Paris, where you can see some of the renovations. Visitors to Notre Dame de Paris, the augmented exhibition, can also travel through time, both to the 2019 fire and to 1160, the early stages of the cathedral. Church officials and visitors agree that the incredible building has the ability to speak to people of all faiths.
Through history, we see people seeking this thing that we call God, this reality that we call God. And so, in a sense, stepping into a place like Notre Dame is not only stepping into a wonderful piece of architecture, but it's stepping into history, it's stepping into the past.
My father's French, so I guess that's part of my roots. And the cathedral is just such a stunning, beautiful place. I mean, you can't beat that window. Sorry, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Nothing like it anywhere.
The architecture, the image is just so majestic. It's so gorgeous, and there's nothing like it, you know, around. It's just a beautiful piece of architecture and building, and you walk in, so it's hard not to appreciate it.
There's a small fee to get in, just $10, but you can stay as long as you like. The exhibit runs until the end of January. In Morningside Heights, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
You can see the exhibit at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sundays from 12 to 4. For more information and to get tickets, go to stjohndivine.org and search for Notre Dame de Paris, the augmented exhibition. Americans were actually some of the biggest donors to Notre Dame. The cathedral received close to $900 million in global donations during its restoration. Of that, Americans were estimated to have given $75 million to the cause, the second largest donor after the French. The reconstruction of Notre Dame cost about $737 million. So what happens to the rest of that money? Well, according to officials at Notre Dame, more restorations are underway. Scaffolding will still be seen there for another 2 or 3 years as workers restore the facades, the roof of the sacristy, and the flying buttresses and choir. This work was planned before the 2019 fire because Notre Dame was actually already in a critical state. The costs are still being estimated. Inside the walls of Notre Dame are centuries of priceless, faith-filled history, from the cathedral statues to the medieval paintings. It all shows a beautiful mosaic combining our core beliefs with our story as people of God. Melissa Corsi spoke with an art historian who says the flames brought to light just how important this cathedral is to the Catholic faith.
The Catholic world was shaken when a fire raged, consuming Notre Dame Cathedral, sending flames and smoke far into the air. For more than 20 years, Elizabeth Lev has worked as an art historian at the Vatican. She comments on what the destruction of this cathedral means.
I think there's something really quite remarkable about Notre Dame. Notre Dame, many people sort of took for granted, but mostly what Notre Dame is, it's a collective. It's as Pope Francis said, it's a historical jewel of a collective memory. It is a collective memory of faith.
Liv expressed that this collective group embraced good and bad days, strikes, riots, the revolution, secularism, and even neglect. Yet the cathedral stood.
Christian France, the eldest daughter of the church, the first nation to become Christian, they built this amazing church on this island, dedicating their geographical center to the Mother of God. And everybody helped. Everybody was part of this. This is an expression of the people, of the love of God.
French President Emmanuel Macron has made an appeal, asking for help to rebuild this cathedral in 5 years. Responses and more than $800 million in donations have ensued. People are rallying.
They rally around, some because it's a cultural artifact, some on their knees praying, some standing and singing. But you know what we're looking at? We're looking at a people gathered together, and that's an ecclesia. So it's still doing its job, bringing people together.
From France to the United States and even the Vatican, countries are offering support. In fact, President Trump called Pope Francis to express his closeness in light of the event.
That was Melissa Corsi reporting. The last time Notre Dame was restored was in the mid-19th century. Still to come on this special edition of Currents News, we say a prayer for Notre Dame, hear how the Salve Regina is sung in the Paris Cathedral. Plus, we take one final look at the pomp and circumstance of the reopening ceremony. We'll be right back. Parisians singing hymns, on their knees praying as they watch their beloved Notre Dame Cathedral burn. During the 2019 fire, Parisians held spontaneous prayer vigils along the streets of Paris, praying for the firefighters and for the restoration of the cathedral. The destruction of Notre Dame meant Easter vigils had to go elsewhere in France that year. But even though the iconic bells and music of the cathedral were silenced, Currents News' Michelle Powers filed this report from Paris showing that music was still rising to the heavens.
Every Easter for the past 850 years, music has come from the towers of Notre Dame, and a group of musicians has made a promise that this year it will still sing. Matthew Bleu is conducting the performance of his life with a group of people that's never even played together.
The world's best composers walked through the doors of Notre Dame, played in the cathedral. It cannot go silent now.
Notre Dame de Paris has always been a haven for those whose callous fingers pluck strings and press the keys of woodwinds. But perhaps for the first time, not one note is rising from the bell towers this Easter Sunday. Instead, they come from another place, the side of the Seine. It's not a place of majesty and grandeur like the inside of the cathedral, but the music, the notes, and the rhythms are the same.
I just bought my ticket in last minute offer, and I was so lucky to get here.
This concert's spontaneous, a rendezvous.
When we saw it burning, we knew we had to do something.
Matthew immediately created a Facebook event inviting anyone with passion to play. Nearly 30 performers from all over the world gathering together at the homeland for musicians, alongside the spot so many forms of music were invented, just feet from where musical notes were first written down.
It touched everybody all over the planet, just like it touched all of us musicians.
Many making the great escape for a great cause, a chance to honor history.
Even though we're not playing inside, we're still playing outside for the cathedral, and in some essence we're creating history, and it's a historic moment to say that we're here, we're standing by the French.
Notre Dame became the musical capital of the world in the Middle Ages, Le Grand Orgue, with 8,000 pipes sending melodies to the heavens for centuries. Today, there would be songs of praise and resurrection, and there are. Musicians gathering to perform like they always have.
Sometimes music is better than words.
And the beat goes on. Not too bad for their first time playing together. In Paris, Michelle Powers, Currents News.
Like the people in France and around the globe, we want to say a prayer for the cathedral. The Salve Regina antiphon, as most commonly sung at Notre Dame.
Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, et spes nostra salve. A te clamamus, exules filii Evi, a te suspiramus, gementes et flentes, hinac lacrimarum vale. Ia ergo advocata nostra, illos tuos misericordes oculos ad nos converti. Et Iesum benedictum fructum ventris tui, nobis post hoc exilium ostendi. O clemens, o pia, o dulcis Virgo Maria.
And that is this special edition of Currents News. I'm Christine Persichette. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. We leave you with one last look at the grand reopening of Notre Dame. Hope to see you again next time.